guys, it's Christina from Redefine Creative, and I am here with another process video. And this is for my friend Crystal, who has Pineapple Papers series called Off the Board. And so the last Wednesday of the month, a whole bunch of us take a pin that we have pinned on Pinterest and use it as inspiration for a project. And so I showed in the beginning the pin that I picked, and it was from someone named Sasha. And it's an 8.5 by 11 layout, so I'm also going to make an 8.5 by 11 layout today. But I'm using 12 by 12 supplies, so I'm just kind of cutting down papers right now. And I know I want this navy blue, or like kind of, it's not really navy, but really dark blue, to be my background. And then I want this lighter blue ledger paper to be on top of it. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and punch along the side with my notebook punch to make it look like a sheet of notebook paper, except it has that really great ledger look to it rather than just a notebook paper. In her particular layout that I am basing my layout on, she used what looks like notebook paper. And then I'm going to go ahead and combine a bunch of collections together. So I had a piece from Imagine That, which has like sharks and octopi and a little submarine and some jellyfish, I think, in this really great color palette with these turquoises and kind of reds and orange and some lime. All kind of the colors that I wanted to pull out of this photo. So then I'm going to go ahead and I cut my photo to 3 by 4, and then I put a white cardstock background or a little matting around it like I almost always do. And then I'm layering up a bunch of pattern paper. So some of these are from the new Field Trip collection, which is from Shamal. There's some Imagine That. There's also a little bit of paper from Box of Crayons, which is that like green and white polka dot paper. So I'm combining lots and lots of collections today. And all I'm doing right now is just creating a bunch of layers behind my photo. And some of the layers take up the entire photo mat. Some of them are just the top half or just the bottom half. I also want to use this branding strip that had these really bright colored arrows. So I'm going to tuck half of it under my photo, and then I'm going to use half of it on the bottom where I'm going to kind of create an embellishment cluster for my title to live down there at the bottom. So then I'm going through some of the Imagine That ephemera pack, and I'm going to pull out all of these little blank labels. And then there was a couple little phrase die cuts in there. One of them says a world of imagination, and one of them says let's go on an adventure. And so I want to have those labels kind of go up the side of my page. And so when you look at the sketch, she had her journaling and her title at the bottom, and it kind of like migrates up and to the left to where that big embellishment cluster is. So I'm trying to mimic that same idea with my particular design. Now I knew that I wanted to include some circles because I felt like I had so many square and rectangular layers that I needed something to kind of break that up. So I needed some circles. So I just grabbed some pattern paper and created some circles. I didn't have a big enough piece left to create whole circles, and I didn't want to waste an entire other sheet of paper. Excuse me. So all I did was punch partial circles. And that is totally enough if I'm going to tuck them into my layers. I don't actually have to punch the entire circle. And then there was also a little die cut with a circle that I included in that very top left-hand part. And then I'm just kind of looking for what other embellishments do I want to include. I pulled out the Field Trip ephemera pack, and then I ended up putting it back. And I decided I wanted some tags. But I didn't want to have just plain white tags, so I'm putting some Lime Ricky ink around the edges, and that is one of my absolute favorite inks lately from Catherine Pooler. And then I'm going to go ahead and add that same thing around this ledger paper to kind of tie everything in together, and I really like how that looks. So you'll be able to see it even a lot better in the close-ups, but I love that little pop of ink around the outside edge and around the tags. So then I'm just going to start building all of those layers. And I did go ahead and put my photo on some fun foam, so that photo with all of those layers of mats are going to stand up a little bit off the page. And then I'm going to go ahead and just tuck in my circles, and I wanted to use those little labels because I'm going to do some journaling on there. And the labels actually are tucked in on top of the fun foam. So I'm going to go back and you'll see me add a little piece of like a dimensional adhesive, like a, oh, the word is escaping me, like a sticky dot or some kind of 3D foam tape behind those two labels. so that they stand up at the same height since they are on top of that fun foam underneath the photo. And then I've tucked in my 3 partial circles, so I have them into kind of a triangle. That bottom cluster I know is where my title is going to go, so I'm wanting that to be included in my visual triangle because I do want the eye to kind of move down the page. Having this stair stack of embellishments is also going to help your eye move along the page or move down to the bottom where the title is. And then I'm going to go ahead and just tuck in those little pieces of tag, and I decided I needed a 3rd one, so I'm going to ink that one up, and that one's going to go in that little cluster down on the bottom. And they're just kind of part of the decoration. They're not doing anything like major. There's no hidden journaling or anything. They're just part of the decor. And then I'm going to start pulling out all of the little pieces of embellishments that I want to add. So I kind of always work in this like layering fashion, I guess you could call it. I don't know if there's actually a name for it. Leave me a comment if you know if there's a name for this. So I work from the biggest bottom layers and I work my way up. So I usually start with all of the pattern paper layers that I want to include. And then from there, I move into like the bigger places that I want to build embellishment clusters. So in this case, it was those big circular elements. And then as a last step, or kind of as the next step, then I look at things like tags, pieces of ephemera, die cuts, those types of things that I want to include. And then I move my way up to things like little chipboard or phrase stickers, puffy stickers, enamel dots, sequins, any of the tiny embellishments is kind of my very last step. So I kind of work from the bottom up, and I start with all my biggest pieces and move to the smallest pieces. And I kind of had an idea, you know, like I wanted some of these puffy sticker fish to be on there because this is a picture of my nephew like looking into one of the tanks in the aquarium. So this field trip collection didn't necessarily have a whole bunch of fish, but I did have some I think they're from Stickopotamus, maybe. I think they're just like a Walmart find, those little puffy sticker fish. And so I added a few of those to each one of the clusters. And then I'm like going back looking for little puffy stickers that work in each cluster, little enamel dots that work in each cluster. I am going to add a little bit of journaling that just says he was absolutely like in love and enthralled with the aquarium when they went in California. And that's just going to go on those 2 little labels over there. I did add a puffy sticker to that label towards the bottom that just says big smiles, and it gives it a little bit more dimension as well. But that's basically going to do it. So you could totally take the same design and make it into a 12 by 12 layout if you wanted to, just by putting it on a larger background or running your title along the outside edge. But I really like kind of the challenge of doing a different size layout sometimes, and I do include them in my same album to kind of change things up and give a little bit of variety. So that's going to do it for me. Do make sure that you check out everybody else playing along with Off the Board, taking our Pinterest pins and putting them to work for us. And I'll see you soon. Bye.